It is February 14th, 2026. Happy Valentine's Day. It's been a lot. I mean, but it's got a lot better. A lot better. I mean, from yesterday, people talking that they just found out Melissa got taped telling her kids to lie. Her kids stating that they were lying and making everything up on Thanksgiving of 18. And that she was even the drug lords, the two men that said they were for the drug lords. The uh, they were white, they had medium brown hair, times they had beard. They're about Danny size. Walk around. They told people, but they had medium brown hair, and at times they had beards, and they said they worked for the drug lords. And they were breaking in Walmart 62. Melissa's willing to help us get away with this. She said she'd have the kids make something up for us. And I told her, and they lean over and they're whispering in each other's ears and they're laughing. You had her tell the kids to make up what? And they're laughing. Well, the feds start and the police following around. They caught her telling the kids to lie. And then on Thanksgiving of 18, they taped them that they made everything up. They were games of pretend. And when I asked John what's going on, he didn't know. Melissa just had to make it up because the divorce is going to be moving out, but no one can say anything bad about you. Says the same thing about his church. And that she just had them make up something, but don't worry about Mom. Nobody can say anything bad about you. Okay? He wasn't part of it. All right. All right. So people were talking about how bad they felt. Well, you should. Police and the feds have announced it since 18. Walmart 62. Alliance. Massillon Police 21. Stark County Sheriff's 21. Repeatedly over the years, and you're just finding out and it's 7 years later. You're slow. I mean, seriously. See, that's where everybody was talking how bad they felt. Well, you should. You should. You've been terrorizing a victim. A victim. And then they were talking about their fake dirty doctor not wanting mine worse for them, and they had lied and da. Well, people today act like they just found out that you have to have a competency hearing. They can't just have some doctor write up fraud on somebody and enter in court. I told you, I hate crackheads. Could you imagine if you had enough money to pay off a dirty doctor write up fraud on somebody? Have a judge's friend put it in court. Poor person don't even know anything. And then we had everything signed over us. We're doing this, we're doing that. And you're like, what are you talking about? Well, we did this to you. And it's psycho stuff. It is a federal law that you have a competency hearing and that you attend. You also have to stay in a state psychiatric hospital, and they're the ones that get hold of the courts. You can't hire another doctor to put their opinion on somebody else. And they can't talk to you. They have to work only for their patient, only. And then it's confidential, and they only on their behalf, not for a call, not for a cartel. They go to jail for that. See, that's where these people are. The law enforcement, they don't realize how illegal what they're doing. Everybody goes to jail. Duh. I mean, they just make up scenarios. Oh, we can do it. That's where people today were talking. They found out it would be required for her to have a competency hearing. They couldn't just have a doctor write up she was found insane. Duh. Could they do that to you? Could they have some doctor you've never met write up fraud on you? No, it's fraud. See, that's where investigators had said before, where mental insanity and mental illness is not curable. It's a brain disorder. Your brain is damaged. I take care of people like this. already knew this. Talk to an attorney about it. You have to stay in a state psychiatric hospital. They have to get a hold of courts. You have to stand in front of a judge. They have to explain it to you. That you are found incompetent or insane due to this, You got to now have a guardian, a social worker. You're placed on Social Security disability. Your brain's damaged. You got a brain disorder that's not curable. Insanity is not curable. And so now you're like a ward of the state. And he has people in the court system who's going to make sure you're well taken care of. And all your rights are intact. And everything you own is still yours. Okay? And until you have that hearing, you're not found insane. You can't just pay somebody dirty to write up fraud. Because it's fraud. See, that's where investigators said the only way that you could be insane and then you're normal is drug-induced psychosis. Where someone gave you drugs and you were basically tripping out. That would be the only way for you to be insane at one time and then normal later. Was drug-induced psychosis. That or somebody flat out lied and it's fraud. Because it's one or the other. Because your brain, it is a... It's a brain dysfunction. That is not curable. Your brain is damaged. You cannot comprehend right from wrong. You can't be responsible enough to take care of yourself. That's why you have to stay in the state psychiatric hospital. They have to get a hold of courts, and then you have to have that competency hearing where a judge. You cannot just have somebody write up fraud on somebody behind somebody's back. You take it and enter it in the court, and that person has no idea. Could you imagine if you had enough money, you could steal somebody's millions of dollars, their factory from them, their enterprise, and they wouldn't even know it until it was too late. That is so absurd and so Twilight. That's where these people have no clue what the law is, nor do they understand the law. They have no idea what it is and what it isn't. They think that they can just make up any scenario and run with it, like special permission stocking tapes. We have the right to drug her to get the truth out of her. When they're drugging me with hypnotic drugs and telling me to say stuff. See what I mean? See what I mean? It's crazy crap. When you have a right to remain quiet, you have a right to attorney, you have a right to privacy, you have a freedom of speech, you have a right to a fair court trial, bail and bond. You have a right to a fair court trial, also with an impartial jury. That you're 14th Amendment. You have every U.S. citizen has a right to protection. In every jurisdiction, it cannot be withheld. No money, no assets can be seized, but due process of the law. And then there's another one that no judge can sign over anything. It has to be an impartial jury trial of impartial jurors. Set amount per injury, documented injury, a set amount. By an impartial jury trial. See, this thing of entering it in court with a judge's friend, signing everything over, it's cock and bullshit. These people are spewing nothing but shit out of their mouth. Just like, their scenario of a dirty attorney, which is a dirty drug dealer impersonating an attorney, going to Altman Hospital. They're willing to talk to him, breaking HIPAA. My God, the medical board will shut them down, and the federal government will be a raid. They can't talk about anybody that was there without signed consent and picture ID. They mention any kind of treatment of anything on anyone, they lose their license to practice medicine. That giant hospital could get shut down. And one of their doctors was willing to talk to a drug dealer impersonating an attorney that isn't even representing the client in like a dog bite or a personal injury. No, they're working with people trying to kill him and cover it up. And then that dirty doctor's willing to write out fraud and then hand them the rest of the medical records. Go ahead and dig through and see what you can find. Do you realize that's 35 years in federal prison at the minimum? See, that's where, and then they would say, well, who else did you turn over medical records to the cartel? Who other person were you part of the drugs and told to say it before? You're part of a fraud scheme on them. You're working with a cartel and a cult against the patients here. You're making fraud medical records and trying to get people railroaded. And they're perfectly fine. You can't say somebody has something that's incurable and the person's perfectly fine. You're making it up. You're part of a fraud scheme where they said they're actually after a person that's saying they're a doctor, part of people drugging them up, telling them to say something, and then in it with an extortion group trying to steal from them and victimizing them. And what's not funny in my case, I don't know who they are. These people are even admitting they lied he was my doctor and he actually works for them. Otherwise, there got to be time to get a new doctor, some Jack the Ripper rapist doctor. Seriously, it's psycho stuff. And, see, that's where even the investigators, these people did not realize putting the word doctor on it made it so illegal everyone goes to jail. Your doctor cannot talk about you to even another doctor without your consent. Why do you think you have to sign a consent with your picture ID to go to a specialist for them to transfer your medical record? Because you're not allowed to send it over. Do you know why when you go into the gastrologist or whatever specialist, you go in there, why do you think you sign for the release of them getting the medical records? Because it's a 10-year federal sentence. They're not even allowed to talk to each other without your consent. They're not allowed to talk to other doctors. They are sworn oath that they are going to do no harm to you. And they are only to work for you. And all your medical information and records are covered under a law called HIPAA. It is a federal crime. All these. Minimum of 10 years each. They try to pull this shit with my new husband, Carl. And they said, oh, we'll have a doctor write up. He's incompetent, thrown in a nursing home, and he's perfectly fine. And we'll have his stepdaughter, hadn't seen in almost 2 years, has some kind of like medical assistance or medical billing, hardly nothing at all. We'll have him write up that he's incompetent, he's got dementia, Alzheimer's, and he don't. And we talked to the VA about it. They said she better not pick up that phone. She better not write a letter, because the day she does, she has a medical license. It is unforgiving. Unforgiving HIPAA. Automatic loss of license forever and a 10-year federal sentence on the spot. And we can't talk to anyone in his family. We can't even talk. He gave him permission to talk to me. They said we couldn't even talk to you as his wife without his signed consent and picture ID and him verbally telling us we can talk to you. It is a federal crime. And it is loss of license and a 10-year sentence automatically. That's how crazy these people are. They don't know any constitutional rights. They don't know any federal laws. And they think they can just make it up and they can railroad people. And they can't. And they're nuts. They're cartel. They're crackheads. They drive me nuts. And crazy call people. I'm going to go ahead and upload this.